presented by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. The line of students here in Stillwater grew all day long. They stood in the cold for hours for the chance to welcome Bill Self and number 9 Kansas here to Gallagher-Iba Arena. It is sold out and rocking as Oklahoma State meets the Jayhawks in a game that could go a long way towards determining the Big 12 champion. It's basically a 3-team race now. Kansas State and Oklahoma State trying to do what no team other than Kansas has done the last 8 years. And that is win a Big 12 championship. Hi again, everyone. Bob Wischusen here alongside Stephen Bardo. Holly Rowe will join us in just a moment. The domination of KU in this conference is one of the amazing stories in the last decade of college basketball. And in this era where we really have blown March Madness into everything, it means a lot if Oklahoma State can finally get over the hump and maybe win this conference.
Yeah, we have a perception problem in college basketball that the regular season doesn't matter. It matters to these schools in the Big 12, in the Big 10, in this part of the country. It means something. And so if you can knock off the bully who's been running roughshod for 8 years, you can talk about that for the next 25, 30 years. Believe me, it means something to the players, coaches, and fans of these two programs.
Well, one player that will not be bullied as we take a look at our one-on-one is Marcus Smart. He and Ben McLemore, what a pair of freshmen we'll see dueling tonight.
It seems as though, Bob, they've been here before with the knack of being able to get key rebounds, not just a lot of them, but key in possession. And then you see the defensive anticipation. Talked about Marcus Smart being one of the steals leaders in the nation. And Ben McLemore has bailed Kansas out a number of times this season. And Marcus Smart seems to have a dramatic flair for the moment.
Marcus Smart not only is a freshman player of the year candidate, he is a national player of the year candidate. The consummate stat sheet stuffer. And with more on this duel, let's check in with Holly.
So guys, what makes it even more fun tonight is Ben McLemore is going to start this game defensively guarding Marcus Smart. I asked Ben, what do you have to do? He said, the most important thing I can do is box him out. In that loss at Kansas, he had 8 offensive rebounds. Markel Brown will start on Ben McLemore defensively. Markel is the leading scorer for the Cowboys. I asked him, how will that affect your offense? He said, I'm going to let my defense create my offense.
Holly, it'll be a great matchup to watch tonight as we take a look at the starting lineups for both teams. And another terrific matchup. We expect LeBron Nash and Travis Relaford to square off at times as well. Yeah, Travis
Relaford, a supreme defensive presence on the wing. He'll have something to say in this ball game. And LeBron Nash, when he's that third score in double figures, Oklahoma State is awfully tough to beat.
The Cowboys have won 7 in a row. They're ranked 14th, the highest rank for Oklahoma State since 2007. But what they have not been able to do in 20 years is sweep a season series against Kansas. They have that chance tonight. Already the game's first whistle, and this will be Philip Jurek called for a foul as he got hooked up with Jeff Withey. Well, Travis Ford took Oak State to the tournament in his first 2 seasons. Last year, 15 and 18. His wins decreased in the first 4 years from 23 wins in his first year down to 15 last year. But he's got a team now that certainly is threatening to win a conference title.
Watch for Kansas to establish Withey early on the post. Work inside out.
McLemore just off the mark. Withey kept alive off the tip from Kevin Young. Elijah Johnson on the drive. That won't go. Working the offensive glass, McLemore, but it's taken away. Markel Brown, the hit ahead. LeBron Nash breaks the seal, plus the foul.
Bob, Oklahoma State was very fortunate here. LeBron Nash leaks out, almost cherry picking. And he's very lucky that Markel Brown came up with that loose ball. That could have been a 4th offensive rebound in that possession for Kansas.
Can't complete the 3-point play. LeBron Nash has been a roller coaster since he arrived here at Oklahoma State, certainly this season, but he was terrific in the Bedlam win in overtime on Saturday. Another takeaway by Oklahoma State.
We'll talk about this as one of the keys for the game. Forcing turnovers, and Oklahoma State does as well as anyone in the Big 12. Kansas has this high-low action, trying to establish Whitney early.
Whitney can't hit, but the tip follow is good for Relaford.
That's on LeBron Nash. He's got the box out. Relaford, a senior, crashing the glass, doing those little things that allow his team to be successful.
Already a switch defensively as McLemore is now on Smart. Or rather, Robinson on Smart. Offensive rebound and a hit back out by Michael Cobbins. So a fresh 35 for the Cowboys. Markel Brown. Sloppy pass in the lane. McLemore pulls up. And Marcus Smart with another rebound.
Both teams playing just a little too fast, Bob.
Jayhawk an offensive rebound off the Markel Brown miss.
A couple more minutes in the game, they'll get a little tired, they'll slow down a little bit, and the offensive flow will pick up.
Third leading scorer in the Big 12 with his first bucket. Markel Brown gives Oklahoma State the lead back.
I think on the road that Kansas has the advantage with the seniors on the floor, having been in these situations before. See how they respond.
Whitney missed with the left hand, but then unable to corral the rebound was LeBron Nash, and it ends up with Kevin Young for the putback. Rolled right off the hands of Nash and turned it to 2 for KU.
With the defense on both teams being so solid, Kansas is one of the better defensive teams in the nation. Offensive rebounding and turnovers will be key here in this ball game.
Smart splits the D. Blocking foul called on Young. Bill Self has won the Big 12 title every year. He's been at Kansas 8 now in a row, along with 5 Big 12 tournament titles. Of course, the national championship in 2008. It's an amazing string of success. You have to go back to his years at Tulsa. The last time Bill Self finished worse than second in his respective conference as Nash turns it over. That's the second Oklahoma State turnover.
That's what drives these fans crazy about LeBron Nash. That's a situation where he's just not paying attention. He's not locked in. He's got so much talent. But if you're not locked in, you can't be effective. And this is not the game that you want to come out not ready to play mentally.
Phil Forte in the game for the first time as he replaces Nash. Johnson on a drive over the top of Whitney, or over the top of Jayhawk, and that leaves the weak side open for Kevin Young's putback.
Kevin Young is giving Michael Cobbins fits underneath the glass, pushing him underneath. And he's found out how they're going to let the players play, the officials, and so Kevin Young's taking advantage of it early.
Young another rebound. Already 5 offensive rebounds for Kansas. And a foul called on Forte. Off to a high-paced but low-scoring start here in Stillwater.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. The perfect combination of chocolate and peanut butter. And in part by Lexus in the RXF Sport. It's What's Next from Lexus.
You're watching Wednesday Night Hoops presented by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups here in the Big 12. And due to time constraints, we move ahead in our action after these messages. Candidates are out for the Wooden Award, down to the final 25 candidates that are up for that award. You saw Marcus Smart and Jeff Whitney. Along with Ben McLemore, we have 3 players in our game tonight that are part of the Wendy's Wooden Watch, part of that final list of midseason top 25 candidates.
It just tells you the state of college basketball when 2 freshmen can be in that mix right there. Both having outstanding years along with Jeff Whitney.
Ben McLemore is second in the Big 12 in scoring, and Holly has more.
Well, I put those 2 kids on the spot today. I asked Ben McLemore, who would you vote for Player of the Year if you had to right now? He said, well, I think it's wide open. It's up for grabs. I think Marcus is a great player, and I'm just going to keep working. But when I asked Marcus Smart who he'd vote for, He said Ben McLemore. I think I would give it to him. He has affected the Big 12 in a big way. He just makes plays, and he is a winner. I thought that was pretty sweet.
That is nice. It's sportsmanship, although Fran Fraschilla, I was following him on Twitter. He was not only putting Marcus Smart up for a few different awards, he thinks Marcus Smart's got a chance to be the National Player of the Year.
Yeah, he's been high on Marcus, and he's had an advantage because he's seen him play in high school in the Dallas area for quite a long time.
McLemore stays cold to start the game, and high in the air to pull down the rebound is Brian Williams. Williams attacks on the drive and draws a foul, and a hard one at that. He was bumped on the drive initially by Tharp. Check that Elijah Johnson called for the foul. That's his second. Oklahoma State missed 5 consecutive attempts from the field. And 3 for 13 overall, well below their per game average. And Kansas cold as well. They're at 29% so far tonight. They're not only #1 in the Big 12 in field goal percentage at 47%, as finally one goes down for Phil Forte.
Not uncommon for these two teams to struggle offensively early. They're just so good defensively. You've got to find the matchup that's favorable, and also, again, forcing turnovers.
Before he fell out of bounds, Kevin Young got a timeout. So it stays with Kansas. We're tied at 9, and we'll step aside for 30 seconds and come right back to Stillwater. You're watching Wednesday Night Hoops presented by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups here in the Big 12. And due to time constraints, we move ahead in our action after these messages. Welcome back to Stillwater. Oklahoma State and Kansas deadlocked at 22. Now KU, of course, has won back-to-back games after their 3-game losing streak. A losing streak that began on February 2nd with the home loss to Oklahoma State. But talking to Bill Self, Stephen Barlow earlier today, it's really interesting the way he talked about what that 3-game losing streak might have done for him and his coaching staff to the positive, and how in the long term it might be something that benefits his team.
Well, before that streak, they were blowing teams out and making shots, and that hides a lot of deficiencies. So when they had that 3-game losing streak, it brought them back down to earth. It showed them their deficiencies so they could lock in and work much harder in practice, and the coaches could get after them and then respond. And they have responded well here in the last couple games.
Shot clock at 10 on this possession. Tharp kicks one to Relaford. Shot clock at 4. Does KU realize it? Tharp does. Fades away. That's off the mark. And that was literally at the last second that Nadir Tharp looked up and saw the shot clock at 1.
Nice job of Oklahoma State changing their defenses. 2-3 zone kind of morphing as the ball moves side to side, keeping Kansas out of the paint.
Nash sets up Smart. Oklahoma State is 1 for 10 from three-point land, and Relaford beats them in transition. And a timeout called by Travis Ford. And there is an injury to Smart.
Well, he's having a rough evening. Got that shiver coming across the lane from Kevin Young, and it's like he twisted his ankle. He didn't want to put pressure on that right foot.
So there is a National Player of the Year candidate in Marcus Smart. Hobbling off the floor after already leaving and being treated for a shoulder injury. And he came up lame on his way down the floor. Maybe it's a cramp. They're looking at the front of the right shin. You could see him starting to hobble and limp a little bit as he was trying to get back on defense, as Relaford took off ahead of the field.
Well, if it's a cramp, you'd usually see them pulling up the toe and everything, trying to stretch out that calf a little bit.
That seems like what the training staff is doing there a bit. That might be the best possible news if you're an Oklahoma State fan, if that's only a cramp for Marcus Smart. as Kirby Gardner has come back on. Fading away from the corner and knocking it down is Markel Brown. He has the only 2 threes in the game for either team. And that actually now signaled to the scorer's table by the officials as a long 2. So still only 1 made 3 between the 2 teams.
Nice set play, though, to get him along the baseline screen. Screen him up on that jumper.
McLemore stepped on the sideline.
Take a look right here and watch Markel Brown just come off a simple pin down screen. Comes off. The defense goes over the top. He flares, giving him a little bit more space on the catch on the release. Nice job of Oklahoma State getting their leading scorer on track.
Nash, he hits the baby jumper.
Oklahoma State showing some character with Marcus Smart on the bench.
Withey posting up Nash. Withey across the lane. Goaltending. Michael Cobbins, no doubt about it, got it on the way down. So score the bucket for Withey, and we're tied again.
Sometimes you wonder why guys do that.
Because they can.
I mean,
I would do that if I could.
I can do that, you know, on a trampoline. But you just, hey, that's a 7-footer with the release. If you don't get it right at the top, Bob, you have no chance on the block.
And now Marcus Smart trying to work out what appears to be a cramp in the right leg, maybe the right calf. So it's a Charlie horse that, if he can fight it off, he'll try and get back in the game. I think there was an inadvertent horn from the scorer's table. And so the 2 teams taking an opportunity to get a free timeout with their coaches, but now the officials want to get the game back underway.
Yeah, that looks more like a turned ankle to me. He's trying to test the strength in the ankle. He's getting up on his toes. And the concern, Bob, you go to halftime, you got that break. You got to somehow stay warm if it is indeed a twisted ankle. That will stiff it up on you in a heartbeat.
About a 6-second differential between shot clock and game clock. So Markel Brown doesn't waste any time. LeBron Nash an offensive rebound. And now he fades away and takes a tough shot rather than hold for the final shot of the first half. That's a bad decision by LeBron Nash, and it gives Kansas a chance to hold for 1.
I'll let Nadir Tharp go one-on-one. Look for a shooter on the other side.
Tharp, a little floater that's no good. The follow by McLemore, but after the horn. So we are tied at 26 at the break. It's halftime here on Wednesday Night Hoops, presented by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups in the Big 12. And ESPN College Basketball is available live anytime, anywhere on your computer, tablet, or smartphone at watchespn.com and with the Watch ESPN app. We'll come back with the second half of our game after these messages.
Thanks for the ticket, man.
Thanks to my State Farm agent for saving me $480.
No sweat. Hey, look, we're on fan cam.
Having the extra cash sure helps.
And I can save even more by combining your auto and renter's policies.
Cool. But what if we bought a house?
Auto and home? We have even bigger savings for that.
Wow, sounds good.
More savings any way you shake it.
Want to split some nachos?
Sure.
Get to a better state. State Farm.
Welcome back to Wednesday Night Hoops, presented by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Just about set for the start of the second half. A low-scoring, at times sloppy first half. 12 total turnovers and 1 for 14 from three-point land between Kansas and Oklahoma State. Bob Wischius and Stephen Bardo, Holly Rowe here in Stillwater. Was it good defense? Was it a lack of offensive execution? What do we look for in the second half?
I say it was a lot of good defense and forcing turnovers. Kansas already with 8 halfway to their 16 turnover mark that they had in their loss at Lawrence. So I think defense is ruling the day right now.
And we'll see if Marcus Smart can start the second half. He was out as part of the layup line with his teammates, but he was injured twice in the first half. Took a forearm shiver there from Kevin Young, and then we went back and found the spot where he landed on Relaford on a jumper and turned his ankle a bit. And you can see Holly Rowe always doing her job in the background, keeping her eye on Marcus Smart. It looks like he'll start the second half. Holly on the floor.
Well, I spoke with the athletic trainer, Jason Miller. He said it wasn't a cramp. It was definitely a turn of the ankle. They went into the locker room at halftime, did some stretching, got it loosened up, retaped it. But when Marcus ran out to take the floor, he kind of shook his head like, whew, here we go. I know he's not feeling well, but he's definitely going to try to play.
Well, both teams need our one-on-one players to pick it up. Ben McLemore and Marcus Smart have yet between the two to score a field goal. That has a lot to do with why we had such a low-scoring first half. Markel Brown, tough fadeaway. And Withy ends up with the rebound.
Good defense that time without fouling.
Elijah Johnson able to go coast to coast.
Elijah Johnson only 4 points in the first half, but a lot better decision that time. We saw him with a couple quick shots, but that time breaking down the defense, getting to the rim. First 5 minutes of the second half, you have to establish yourself, especially on the road.
Nash has it knocked away by Young, but recovered. Now it's Smart off the glass. He still can't make a field goal, but he'll go to the free throw line as he was fouled and ends up walking away holding his mouth or his nose as he took another shot. Jeff Withy called for the foul. That's his second.
Excuse me, Bob, we've seen 5 to 6 of these type of plays where one team looks like they come up with a turnover and then they lose it and there's a scramble. Nice call by the officials there with the love tap in the face. But we've seen that a lot tonight where the ball is just loose. Team comes up with a turnover, but they can't secure it.
Marcus Smart now 6 of 6 at the free throw line. He's the only player in the top 16 in the Big 12 in scoring, rebounds, assists, and steals. We expected a duel with he and McLemore tonight. Neither has made a basket. McLemore with the pump fake, and a nice job by Markel Brown to avoid the foul. Shot clock down to 8. Young, he'll drive. That's blocked by Cobbins. Shot clock down to 2. Taken away by Cobbins.
Most right-hand guards, Bob, when they dribble left, they want to go into a jumper. They dribble right, they want to get to the rim. Then McLemore being scouted extremely well by the Markel Brown and Marcus Smart playing him for that jumper.
Smart, backdoor cut to Nash. He draws another foul. If that's on Withy, that's number 3. It will be on Withy. He's the first player for either team in the game with 3 fouls. Let's see what Bill Self does.
Withy does an excellent job defensively and typically doesn't get close to 4 fouls. So he'll be smart here, but he'll still impose his will defensively.
You mentioned being smart. Now, Withy's a senior and was doing a game with Dan Dockich over the weekend. And he made the point as a former coach, see if you agree, as we see Withy pick up his 3rd, that it's become too formulaic at times with coaches. And you see Bill Self go in the opposite direction here, where it's, oh, player picked up his 3rd foul, automatically take him out. And he said, you know, players should be smart enough, especially juniors and seniors, to know how to play with 3 fouls and to know how to stay on the floor and not get that 4th or pick it up too soon. And you can see Bill Self trusting his senior to stay in the game with 3 here.
Well, I don't think it's more a classification necessarily of junior senior. I think it has something to do with that player, because we see 18 to 22-year-olds make dumb decisions all the time. But it has a lot to do with that player and being in that situation before.
Sweet little turnaround from Kevin Young. And that puts Kansas back on top by a point.
See Elijah Johnson screaming the call back to his bench. Doing a great job of scouting and trying to anticipate what Oklahoma State is looking for in this possession.
Here's Jurek around with you, lets him go.
Withy pleading with the officials, but I thought Jurek did a good job. He held his ground, spun, and went right to the rim.
How about the reverse by Relaford? That puts Kansas back on top. Smart. In and out. Still looking for his first basket. As is McLemore. Elijah Johnson. To Relaford down the lane. That layup is good.
Starting a trend here. Kansas is attacking the rim. We saw Elijah Johnson start the second half going to the hole. And everyone has picked up. Kevin Young has been close in. Relaford just with the layup there. Kansas not settling for jumpers. Challenging Oklahoma State at the rim.
Nash fumbles it in the corner. McLemore ties him up. Held ball. It belongs to Kansas when we come back. It's been a scramble tonight.
Well, Philip, you're getting his opportunity right there, and then Relaford not being denied at the rim.
You're watching Wednesday Night Hoops presented by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups here in the Big 12. And due to time constraints, we now move ahead in our action. They're partying here at Gallagher-Iba Arena, but their team is down by 5 as Kansas has taken the largest lead for either team so far tonight. And two of the top teams in the West highlight NBA Friday on ESPN. At 8 Eastern, it's the T-Wolves taking on Oklahoma City. And then at 10:30, the Spurs and the Warriors. NBA Friday presented by State Farm. Coverage tips off with Kia NBA Countdown at 7:30. And Holly Rowe, it was Travis Ford's turn a moment ago to call a timeout and get into the ears of his team a bit.
Well, that's right. He just told his team, look, Kansas is taking control of this game. We've got to take it back. How do you expect to win this game if you don't stop anybody? They're driving it down our throats. They must have seen the Oklahoma tape where the Sooners did that frequently. He said, you guys at one point need to bow up. Come on, there's no excuse for this.
And Kansas now, Stephen Bardo, has their shooting percentage up to 47%. Much better so far here in the second half, and that's allowed them to retake the lead.
Well, Elijah Johnson recognized that Marcus Smart is not 100%. So you expect to see whoever Marcus Smart is guarding, they're going to take him off the bounce.
Markel Brown with a pump fake and an air ball. But Young fumbles it out of bounds. I'm not sure if that hit the rim or if Young had complete control. The shot clock reset. That might have been a break for Oklahoma State. And now are the officials going to confer and see if the shot clock should have reset. Let's take a look and see if this hit the rim. Looked like an air ball. Well, maybe it did just barely graze the rim.
It's like it. Right there. Good job by our camera crew catching that one.
They can come over to the monitor to see if a timing error of some sort occurred. So this is something that is reviewable. And you'll see the same replay the officials are about to see. Just barely changes direction enough. So it is a fresh 35 for the Cowboys.
Travis Ford arguing with the referees, thinking that Markel Brown was hit on the release. Anytime you see a player going up for a jumper and his head cocks back like that on the release, indicating that there's some contact.
Oklahoma State riding a 7-game win streak. Part of that win streak, an 85-80 win at Fog Allen back on the 2nd of February. But it's been 30 years since they swept the season series with Kansas. And Smart can't score here.
I like Marcus Smart trying to get in the post area, though. He's got a size advantage over Johnson. Just really good help by his teammates. But Oklahoma State's got to get creative in getting Marcus into the game offensively.
Elijah Johnson to Young. Cobbins rips away the rebound. Nash fouled by Young. That's Young's third.
Marcus Smart is trying to gut this out. He's a warrior. But watch him coming up the court. Trying to overcome that ankle. And believe me, players on Kansas know he's not 100%. They're taking advantage of it. You saw Elijah Johnson. Last time he got the ball, went right to the rim.
Out of bounds underneath, and there is a pretty play for Oklahoma State. Markel Brown able to finish to make it a three-point game with Withey and Kevin Young both on Kansas's bench, each with 3 fouls. What can KU do to get McLemore involved offensively? A rejection by Smart, throws it to midcourt. And now he's right up in the grill of Elijah Johnson and commits the foul. And a little extra, Elijah Johnson throws it down well after the whistle. He took a hit from Markel Brown as well, unnecessary. John Higgins, one of the officials, gets in between both teams, tells everybody to calm down.
See, and everyone thinks that conference play doesn't mean anything. And that shot by Kevin Young to Marcus Smart wasn't a message. Trust me, this is after the whistle. And Elijah's like, oh, you gonna try to block that? Well, take that one with you.
So after all that, a foul on the floor and an out of bounds for Kansas. Elijah Johnson, how about the crossover in the finish?
Somebody else is going to have to check Elijah Johnson for Oklahoma State. He's going to have his way the second half.
Foul called on Perry Ellis. 14 fouls on the Jayhawks here in the second half.
As we look at Perry Ellis pick up the foul there, he's a little similar to LeBron Nash to me, Bob, in that McDonald's All-American, a lot of expectations coming in, but some guys just need time to adjust to this level.
Brown for 3. That is shooter's touch, or a home court roll,
or both.
Either way, it's a 2-point game. Perry Ellis with a ball fake. Lost it on the baseline. Fumbled it out of bounds. 10 turnovers for Kansas.
When you're a scorer and you've been struggling, you have to have amnesia. And Markel Brown has that understanding that he's got to pick up the scoring pace. He and LeBron Nash fill the void right now.
Here's Smart on the drive. He'll go back to the line. Under 12 to go in the second half here at Gallagher-Iba Arena. 2 points separating Kansas and Oklahoma State. You're watching Wednesday Night Hoops presented by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups here in the Big 12. And due to time constraints, we move ahead in our action after these messages. Well, Bram, that game between Iowa State and Baylor, 2 teams in the middle of the pack trying to stay in the discussion in the Big 12, but this is really a 3-horse race as we come down the stretch. Kansas State gets a win on Monday against West Virginia. They take the half-game lead over Kansas and Oklahoma State. So the winner of our game tonight will be in a first-place tie with the Wildcats. And that's news if it turns out to be Oklahoma State, because Kansas has won this conference 8 straight years. Will the dynasty this year finally come to an end? In spite of the fact that Kansas has already swept Kansas State this year, they trail by a half game in the standings.
And that's why these road wins, if you want a conference crown, you got to hold the fort at home, and you've got to be at least 500 on the road. And so far, Kansas State has been able to do that, with the exception of Kansas coming in with a 4-point victory in Bramlett. Kansas unsure of what they're doing here. Elijah Johnson may have to break down a D.
Shot clock down to 7. Traylor picks up his dribble. Deep jump hook, and that missed everything.
Good defense by Oklahoma State.
And Jeff Withey right back in for Jamari Traylor. While we were away as well, Marcus Smart and Markel Brown both jumped right back to the scorer's table. So they're back in the game. Bob Wischusen, Stephen Bardo, Holly Rowe. Terrific atmosphere here in Stillwater, as you would expect for two of the top teams of the Big 12. Backdoor cut Williams with a pump fake around Withey. Withey blocks the shot, but the follow by Michael Cobbins. And it's a one-point game.
Nice job of Cobbins going to the rim, knowing that Withey went for the block. Withey's got to get some help defensively. 2-3 zone. Nope, man-to-man by Oklahoma State.
McLemore from the corner. That's his first field goal from the outside tonight. He's got 2 buckets, 1 dunk follow, and that 3. How about Cobbins quickly down the floor? Thought he was fouled by Withey. Travis Ford cannot believe it. Tharp for 3. Long rebound to Markel Brown. Brown with the crossover and a reach-in foul.
Defensive breakdown that time by Oklahoma State. A little bit of a combination there, and then ball already hitting the glass. McLemore tracking it down. Travis Ford nor the home fans appreciate that non-call there.
Well, that last foul for Kansas called on Elijah Johnson. 17 fouls against Kansas, so it's a 1-and-1 for Markel Brown. 73% free throw shooter. That's not the first time tonight we've seen the rim be friendly to Markel Brown. He leads all scorers with 13. Now the crowd going wild, thinking that a couple of fouls should have been called against Kansas. Let's keep in mind, this is not uncommon for the road team. But in the second half, Kansas with 17 fouls, Oklahoma State with only 3. So the whistle has not been unkind to the Cowboys. With only 3 fouls, 14 minutes gone by in the second half.
Yeah, and they can be a lot more aggressive on this end of the court in that scenario. So now there are 2-3 that will morph as the ball swings back and forth. Markel Brown doing a good job of fronting Withey on the post.
Tharp has Nash caught on a switch. Tries to take him off the dribble with a ball fake. Around and in. What a move by Nadir Tharp.
Here, Tharp put a little playground English on the rock with the scoop shot. Marcus Smart was trying to post Elijah Johnson up that time.
Nash, the double team comes quickly from Withey. 10 to shoot. Smart for 3, blocked by Withey, but right there to recover is Michael Cobbins. That's a friendly bounce for Oklahoma State.
Travis Ford talks about resume for his bigs. Jurick Cobbins. Rebound, defend, let your offense come to you. Michael Cobbins doing just that here in the last couple possessions.
Timeout called by Bill Self. Four and a half minutes to go. And it has been a war at times tonight between Kansas and Oklahoma State. ESPN College Basketball is available live anytime, anywhere on your computer, tablet, or smartphone at watchespn.com and with the Watch ESPN app. That's going to come in handy as well as we approach conference tournament time. Now, Bill Self seems enthusiastic, to say the least, but Elijah Johnson had beaten Marcus Smart several times off the dribble, as you pointed out earlier in the second half. Maybe Marcus Smart has run off the leg injury and is back to 100%, but are you surprised that they have not gone back to Johnson as the primary ball handler? It seems to be Nadir Tharp that they're running things through. Do you expect that maybe it's going to be Johnson against Smart down the stretch?
Well, no, what's happened is Oklahoma State's changed their defense. They're not playing man-to-man. They're switching 2-3 zone. They're going 1-3-1 half-court trap. So they're no longer going man up. Except for this possession right here, straight man-to-man.
And McLemore with a freeway to the basket.
Brian Williams was expecting help on the baseline. Got to try to keep him in front.
There's a backdoor cut and a slam from Markel Brown.
Great counter by Oklahoma State.
Tharp again has Nash on a switch. Instead, it's McLemore. It's still Nash on Tharp. And a foul underneath. Cobbins got tied up with Withey, and Cobbins is called for the 14th foul on Oklahoma State. Cowboys with a little Princeton offense.
Yeah, nice backdoor cut with the denial, and Markel Brown showing you his hop.
As we return, we take a look at our Reese's perfect play.
Well, perfect execution by Kansas. Simple upstream, no defensive communication. Travis Relaford for the layup. And those are stealing possessions. Kansas done that twice. And you get 2 or 3 of those resulting in 6 points on the road. That is huge in a tight ball game.
Let's check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, Travis Ford just told his team, hey, what have I told you guys before? Under 4 is our time. It's winning time. This is a very young team, but they've won a lot of games down the stretch, including Bedlam against Oklahoma. He also pointed out to them they've only got 14 fouls. He said, pick up your intensity on defense. Take that ball from them. We have some fouls to give.
Let's see how aggressive they are. There's Elijah Johnson now squaring up on Forte. Relaford posting up Forte. Spins baseline and draws the foul.
I thought Forte was in pretty good position there, giving up quite a bit of height defensively. Tough break for Oklahoma State.
Forte called for his third. Kevin Young is on the bench right now for Kansas. He's the only player for either team with 4 fouls. So both teams have players on the floor that can give a foul where necessary and not worry about fouling out. Relaford up to 13 and in double figures for the 20th time this season.
You see that stat right there, 1 of 4 from the free throw line. Got that first one to go. Typically when you miss free throws on the road, you're behind. So Kansas doing a lot of good things here. Second half to overcome that.
Abba Stephen Bardo and Holly Rowe here at a riotous Gallagher-Iba Arena. Great atmosphere and a 4-point game with 3.5 minutes to go. Smart on the drive, tough fadeaway, and he knocks it down. Finally a field goal for Marcus Smart. 1 of 10 now from the field.
Warrior. That's all I can say. Just a warrior.
That might have been his toughest shot of the night.
Ben McLemore gives the ball up too quickly, Bob. He's got to be more aggressive with the rock.
A takeaway by Forte. Forte draws the foul. Nadir Tharp gave the foul on the fast break by Forte after the steal.
Despite an ankle twist, able to come off that injured ankle, square up in time on the release, under duress.
A 1-and-1 for Forte to try and tie the game. 88% free throw shooter. The best in the Big 12 hits 2. We are tied for the 13th time. We have had 19 lead changes. 2:47 to go. Elijah Johnson on the drive. That won't go. Withy draws a foul. Marcus Smart reached in on Jeff Withy.
That's close to being goaltending, I thought. After Elijah Johnson released the ball, Cobbins may have gotten his hand in there.
That's the third foul on Smart.
Look at the ball on the rim right there. It's kind of close, but Jeff Withy doing a good job of pursuing the rock.
And the senior's a 70% free throw shooter. Is there a player in America that from his freshman year in college basketball, even his first year at Kansas to where he is now, has made more progress than Jeff Withy?
Definitely not. His body may not resemble it in terms of size, but he's gotten so much stronger. He understands what's required, and he plays within his skill set.
Timeout called by Oklahoma State. And let's go back to the studio and check in with Bram Weinstein and Fran Fraschilla. Well, Bram, we've got 2.5, what we would think would be eventful minutes to go in a 2-point game. I'm Bob Wischusen here with Stephen Bardo and Holly Rowe along for the ride as well. It's low scoring. There are times where it's been sloppy and ugly. But this entire game has been played inside of an 8-point window. Oklahoma State has never led by more than 3. Kansas, their largest lead, 5. It's never lacked for intensity.
No, and we knew it wouldn't. With what is on the line here in terms of Kansas trying to stay in front.
Smart with the left hand, gets his own miss. Forte way outside. That's off the mark. The loose ball. Diving for it is Brown in the corner. Who's it out off of? And it belongs to Kansas. Even more college basketball on Wednesday Night Hoops. As soon as we're done, we head out west. 12th ranked Arizona taking on Washington. Dave Pasch, Bill Walton will have the call. Again, that's coming up next as soon as we're done here in Stillwater.
For the rest of the game, Travis Ford is going to try to get Brian Williams in on the defensive end and Phil Forte in on the offensive end so that Kansas can't take Forte down in the box.
Relaford in the paint. Flips it up off the glass with English. And it's a 4-point lead for KU. Smart crosses over, draws the foul. And he'll go back to the free throw line. Elijah Johnson called for the bump.
Relaford trying to probe the defense. Good no call, but even better finish. Again, Kansas not looking for too many jump shots right now. They're getting it to the rim.
That foul on Elijah Johnson, his 4th. And Marcus Smart up to 12 points in the game. 10 of his 12 at the free throw line. 10 of 11 shooting foul shots.
Still expect pressure here, even at the half-court level. Oklahoma State wants to turn them over, get them out of their set offensively here.
Withy posting up to the baseline, off the glass, it rolls off. Markel Brown pushing tempo, numbers for Oklahoma State. Out to Smart for 3. Got it! Bill Self wants to try and quiet things down. I don't think it's going to work.
No, not after this play. Markel Brown doing a great job of imitating the point guard position drawing the defense to him and kicking to Marcus Smart for a wide open three.
We have been here before with Oklahoma State. January 30th against Iowa State. Marcus Smart with a floater in the lane with 5 seconds to go. Cowboys win by 2. Shortly thereafter, at Kansas on February 2nd, Marcus Smart with 25 points, 5 steals, 9 rebounds, and 1 memorable flip in a 5-point win. 4 days later against Baylor, coast to coast after the block, Markel Brown. This fast break layup with 0.2 seconds to go, a 2-point win over the Bears. And then in Bedlam, the second consecutive home game to go into overtime, Markel Brown. The steal leading to Michael Cobbins' layup. Smart blocks the 3-point attempt. They rush the court. And OSU beats Oklahoma 84-79 in overtime. And now here they are again under a minute to go, trying to get the first season sweep against Kansas since 1983. The possession arrow belongs to KU. Each team with timeouts. Neither team with a foul to give.
I flatten out the floor for Elijah Johnson and let him go one-on-one against Marcus Smart.
Elijah Johnson gets Smart down to the ground, and Michael Cobbins says no.
Great help right there by Cobbins, because Elijah Johnson left some Victoria's Secret on the deck with that crossover. Broke some ankles and left some lingerie down there.
15 on the shot clock for Kansas. They get it in, preserving their timeout. Down to 10 to shoot. Nadir Thard. 7 to shoot. Fumbled it off his foot. Cobbins gets it to Marcus Smart. Let's see as Travis Ford calls a timeout, and he will. Oklahoma State can take the final shot in regulation time.
So now Travis Ford brings in Phil Forte to be able to stretch the floor. So you have an option of Markel Brown on one end, one side, Phil Forte on the other side, letting Marcus Smart create, possibly bringing up LeBron Nash for a pick and roll, try to force a switch where Smart can take advantage.
14 ties, 19 lead changes, and a much lower scoring game than you would expect from these two teams. Each team with one more timeout. As we said, no fouls to give. Kansas has the arrow, so if they get a tie-up, they'll get the basketball back. And right now, the officials taking a look at something at the scorer's table on replay.
Well, again, if you're Oklahoma State right now, and
we've been told the officials are taking a look just to make sure that the time on the clock is accurate at 28.7, and it's when the officials recognize the timeout called by Travis Ford. Looks as if they got that right.
Well, Bob, in this situation, if you're Oklahoma State, you want to keep the last possession. You want to go with 7 or 8 seconds. Because with 7 or 8 seconds when you go, you have the opportunity to get an offensive rebound and keep it on your end. Take a look at the clock once again.
You know what they might be looking at to see if the shot clock reset at the appropriate time. And if the shot clock, you can see there's 5 seconds on the shot clock. That's obviously not correct. But if the shot clock didn't immediately reset when Oklahoma State got possession, then there may be just a fraction of time in between shot clock and game clock. Let's take a look and see if the shot clock resets at the appropriate time. Right there, Oklahoma State has the ball. There's still 36.2 seconds to go, which means theoretically the shot clock should be resetting when Oklahoma State gets possession.
Right.
There should be about a 1.2 second differential between shot clock and game clock, which means Oklahoma State wouldn't necessarily be able to hold for the final shot. Yeah, let's see what they do with the shot clock here.
So they can go with 7 seconds on the shot clock. That gives them plenty of time.
They'll probably be, based on when possession changed hands, about 27.5 seconds or so, theoretically, on the shot clock. They'll have to put it somewhere between 26 and 27 seconds on the shot clock for Oklahoma State.
Right there.
Well, they have to get possession for the shot clock to change hands. So now it changes hands 36 seconds or so. Should probably be about a 1 second differential between the shot clock and the game clock.
And I know they need to get that right, but in terms of strategy, it really doesn't matter at this point because Oklahoma State is going to, in a perfect scenario for them, they're going to get the last shot.
And John Higgins just told the scorers at the table there should be 27.5 on the shot clock, which creates a 1.2 second differential. Now the shot clock doesn't show tenths, but they can tweak it. So it's a 1.2 second differential between shot clock and game clock. It's a great job by the officials to make sure that that was corrected. Marcus Smart dribbles it down. Where do you go?
You let Marcus Smart on a high screen and roll. You've got Markel Brown on one corner, Phil Forte in the other corner. You let him create, and if he gets in trouble, he wants to look to his wings for a shot attempt.
Travis Ford wants him to go to work now. 5 to shoot. Smart way out near midcourt. Gonna have to let one go. On the run, fades away. Off the mark. Kansas State has a 1/2 game lead over both of these two teams in the Big 12. So either Kansas or Oklahoma State will be tied for first once this game is settled. Kansas, 8 consecutive years, has won the conference regular season title. Will that string be broken by either Oklahoma State or Kansas State this year? A lot will be said based on what happens in tonight's game as we head to overtime. And before that, let's check in with Holly.
Kansas coach Bill Self just told his team in the huddle that they've got to be smart defensively because Elijah Johnson with 4 fouls, Kevin Young with 4 fouls. Johnson is going to start out guarding Forte, but he kept reminding him he's got to be smart.
And Kevin Young sat once he picked up his 4th foul for the rest of the second half. So he's the one player coming into the game somewhat cold to begin overtime. And he ends up with the loose ball off the tip.
Remember the question you asked me, though, whether it was formulaic in terms of the foul situation? Kevin Young is the one that set the tone for Kansas in the paint. So Bill Self's thinking he wants to have him do that again.
Withy finds Young. Young fumbles it, but recovers. And a reset to McLemore. McLemore to a wide open Young. Off to Withy. Blocked by Cobbins, but a foul call. And that will go against Michael Cobbins. That's his 3rd.
Boy, Cobbins is so quick and long, and John Higgins, veteran official. Watch the off arm. He pushes down on Withy's shoulder to get the block. That's a savvy call by one of the best officials in the game.
It's a double-double for Jeff Withy. 11 points, 12 rebounds. His 10th double-double of the season. He's in double figures for the 10th game in a row. A pair at the line, and Kansas on top by a bucket.
So right now, again, with this lineup, we're going to see a similar options that we saw earlier. So trying to get Marcus Smart in the post and work off of him.
Smart in the lane with a pump fake, and he'll go back to the free throw line. And he has made his living tonight at the line. 10 of 12.
Smart, it's like he jumped into Travis Relaford. But very crafty at creating opportunities.
Only his 3rd miss at the line. 10 of his 15 points at the free throw line. And double figures for the 21st time this season.
It's
a 1-point game.
Let's not forget, Marcus Smart had a pretty good twist to that ankle at the end of the first half, and he's running on adrenaline right now. But when you have those type of injuries, it affects your shooting because your ability to get up on your toes or get off the floor is affected.
With on Cobbins again. Muscles it up. Cobbins called for another foul. And again, it's John Higgins making all kinds of friends with that Oklahoma State student section. That's 4 fouls on Cobbins.
Well, it's pretty much a replay of what we saw Marcus Smart get against Travis Relaford. Same thing. Defense is right there. He jumps into Cobbins. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it looked like a repeat of the last play.
Jeff Withey now 7 of 9 at the line.
This is a great illustration why I think both of these teams with the right seeding in the tournament can go so deeply, because both teams can score in the 70s or 80s. Both teams are excellent defensively, and even though they've struggled offensively, they've been able to come up with opportunities by forcing turnovers like that.
Also played by Young. Tries to flip it ahead to McLemore. Broken up by Brown. Back to McLemore. And now the freshman with a savvy reset to the senior Elijah Johnson.
McLemore's got to be aggressive in this situation.
Shot clock at 7. Johnson, he's fouled. That'll go against Markel Brown. That's his 4th. It is not easy being the coach's wife. And Cindy Self has been through a lot of these. Although if there were a coach in America that it would probably be pretty easy to be married to based on the win-loss percentage, Bill Self's pretty high on that list.
I would have to agree with you on that, and his self-effacing ways as well tend to be refreshing, especially in late February and everybody's in a dogfight.
Johnson with a pair of misses. Still a 1-possession game.
Well, those weren't even close, Bob. Barely hit the side of the rim on that second attempt. I don't know if that's more fatigue or just lack of confidence in the moment.
Brown, a long 2, draws the foul. It's on McLemore. That's his second.
Markel Brown curls tightly around the screen as well as any guard in this conference. Understands that go shoulder to shoulder with the big that's setting the screen, then the defense can't slip through.
Markel Brown has 16. Marcus Smart has 16. They were also the leading scorers the last time these two teams met, when Kansas lost by 5 to Oklahoma State at the Phog, as Cobbins sits down with 4 fouls.
Well, missed free throws on both ends can become contagious.
2 misses, but a loose ball, and Brown's going to go back to the free throw line. Elijah Johnson called for a push, and that fouls Elijah Johnson out. That's a tough way to end up on the bench.
No, just not pretty much not a strong box out that time by Kansas. Markel Brown misses the first. You're in overtime. You got to anticipate that. Elijah Johnson trying to shoot the gap.
It's also 10 team fouls against Kansas, so it's the double bonus for Oklahoma State. Markel Brown will go right back to the free throw line to shoot a pair. How does this affect Kansas offensively? With Elijah Johnson fouled out, it'll be on to Deer Tharp to run things for the rest of the game. But you're taking your senior off the floor, replacing him with the sophomore.
Well, Bob, I think it's huge because you take a senior who has had some success offensively, been aggressive, off the floor, and now you got to go to the Deer Tharp, who hasn't played poorly. It's just that he doesn't seem as comfortable in these situations.
And it looks like we have another timing error, somewhat reminiscent of Indiana-Michigan State last night, where there were a lot of reviews towards the end of that game to make sure the clock was accurate. And it looks as if the clock didn't start after the missed free throw by Markel Brown. So got Paul Jansen and John Higgins over at the replay monitor. As you'll see the missed free throw, then once the ball is touched, the clock should start. It does not. There's the foul. What do you think? The clock will have to be adjusted by 2, maybe 3 seconds?
If that. I was going to say maybe even 1, because that was slow motion. But I think you're right, Bob. For once in your life.
It's always a pleasure getting 5 extra minutes of basketball with Stephen Bardo. So they take off about 2.5 seconds, and we're right back where we were a moment ago. Markel Brown at the free throw line, but a different result. Markel Brown had 28 in the win at Kansas. That's his season high, and that was 2 shy of his career high. Don't be to 18 now.
Don't be surprised to see pressure here now with Elijah Johnson out of the game. Oklahoma State looking like they're going to do some full court pressure the rest of the way out.
Tharp off the screen. Back to Young. Shot clock at 11. McLemore needs help. Young drives it, flips it to Whitby, and it's out of bounds.
That's one of the reasons why it was so critical that Elijah Johnson's out of the game. McLemore just doesn't seem comfortable right now trying to force the issue when he gets the basketball. I would much rather have Ben McLemore trying to make a play on the perimeter than Kevin Young if I'm Kansas.
Markel Brown straight away. That's way off the mark, and Whitby ends up with the rebound. That's his 13th rebound to go with 14 points. Timeout called by Bill Self. Let's head back to the studio and check in with Bram. All right, Bram, thanks very much. So it should be a good one out in the Pac-12. It has been a terrific game in the Big 12. Not aesthetically pleasing the entire night, but if you're looking for competition, defensive intensity, 2 teams that realize what's at stake, certainly Oklahoma State trying to slay the giant, end the dynasty, and maybe have a different Big 12 champion. Well, a win tonight over Kansas at home would give them their first season sweep against KU since 1983. And as we've been saying all night, Stephen Bardo could go a long way towards determining who ends up winning this conference title.
Yeah, most of the fans in this conference, they usually watch these games, but there's special attention paid to this one because a lot of times there's this season, especially with that 3-game losing streak, there was a renewed excitement among the other members, especially the top echelon of the Big 12 conference, that this may be the year that they can crack the dominance of the Jayhawks. And now with Elijah Johnson on the bench, Kansas is especially vulnerable in the playmaking area right now.
And it'll be the double bonus the rest of the way for both teams. The next foul against Oklahoma State will be their 10th. Each team with timeouts. And if you're looking for Washington and Arizona, they're underway. Dave Pash, Bill Walton with the call over on ESPN News. And we will take you there live here on ESPN2 as soon as we're done here in Stillwater. Who knows how long that'll be, though, as this game has been played, as we said earlier, inside of an 8-point window the entire night. We've had 14 ties, 19 lead changes. The largest lead for Kansas, 5. The largest lead for Oklahoma State, 3. And the Cowboys have not led since we had just under 17 minutes to go in the second half. And they were still able to fight their way through a 32% field goal percentage to force overtime.
Yeah, these guys are warriors, and it's happened. The game that they got beat against Oklahoma, they came back and did 2-a-day practices and really refocused themselves. And since then, they've gone on that 7-game winning streak, and you can see why. A team full of character and fight and grit. They don't give an inch down the stretch.
Aggressive play by Smart to knock it away. Still plenty of time on the shot clock for Kansas.
Kansas trying to go to some set offense now. Trying to create some screens to free up McLemore or Relford.
Tharp, a pull-up jumper. Relford on the weak side. The follow won't go, but a blocking foul will be called on Smart as he slid underneath Relford. And that will put Travis Relford at the line.
Well, Smart just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's just being in a tough position, trying to get the rebound.
The crowd doesn't like the call, but that is a no-brainer.
Yes,
they showed it up on the Jumbotron, but Travis Relford was in midair when Smart slid underneath him, and that's the 4th foul on Smart. So Oklahoma State now, Michael Cobbins, Markel Brown, Marcus Smart, all with 4 fouls apiece. Elijah Johnson has fouled out for Kansas, and Kevin Young has 4 fouls. And it's a 3-point game. Timeout called by Travis Ford. 1:18 to go. 8 straight years Kansas has been the regular season champion in the Big 12. This is the dynasty that Oklahoma State and Kansas State are trying to end.
KU undisputed Big 12 champions. That ought to do it. KU wins. Down to 3 seconds, and it is over. KU wins it.
The Jayhawks are going to win the war. 8 consecutive championships for Coach Bill Self.
When you think about the great players that Oklahoma State has had, that Texas has had, when Texas A&M had some top-ranked teams when they were in the Big 12, Kansas State has had some terrific teams. All of the challengers to this level of dominance, it's pretty amazing.
It is amazing, and to add to that graphic, 4 straight outright titles hasn't been done in a Power 6 conference since Duke did it 97 through 2000. It's never been done in the Big East, and it's never been done in the Big 10. So that's an indication of how special this run has been for the Jayhawks.
Nash in the post with the bluff to the double team. Nash gives it up. It deflects to Forte. A little bit of a ragged possession for Oklahoma State. Brown, Forte from the corner. We're tied! McLemore comes up with an air ball. Travis Ford wants to call his final timeout. About a 6.5-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock.
Scouting report on Phil Forte, Bob. You pick him up off the bus. You don't help out on the dribble drive. That's exactly what Oklahoma State wanted. Nadir Tharp gets caught with his hand in the cookie jar, and Phil Forte makes him pay.
So a young man that grew up wearing Kansas gear. His mom and dad both KU grads. It's a foregone conclusion he was going to Kansas until he saw Keaton Page play that role for Travis Ford at Oklahoma State. He was offered a scholarship by both schools. He thought the Cowboys were a better fit. Now his parents wear orange and black, even at the Fog. He iced the win with some free throws back on February 2nd, and now his 3 ties it in overtime.
Well, again, Bob, a 2 in that situation wasn't going to hurt you. You still have a 1-point lead, so you've got to stay strong to your fundamentals and stay home on Forte if you're Kansas.
Smart on the drive, off the window, and it rolls off agonizingly. Now will Bill Self call his final timeout? And he will. As Kansas can hold for the final shot here in overtime to try and win it. And they are going, I think, to have to go to the monitor possibly again to see if a little too much time ticked off after KU called their timeout. It's another timing error that'll put the officials at the monitor to see if maybe a second and a half has to go back up for Kansas.
This seems to be a recurring theme the last couple days.
There's the timeout, about 15.8 or so maybe on the clock, and the clock here in the arena, as you can see, reads 14.6. So this is the replay that right now John Higgins
and look at Self
Don
right
Daly
there.
and Paul Jansen are looking at.
That's a full second.
Maybe more. I think they're going to take the clock up over 16 seconds. They're actually going to put it up to 16.3. I'm not sure how much of a difference that makes in terms of the play that Kansas is going to run. But as cold as Ben McLemore has been, where do you go with Elijah Johnson having fouled out? Who do you think Bill Self wants to take this final shot?
I think Nadir Tharp is going to have to create something off the bounce. We've seen him do that, and they spread the floor. Especially now they have Brian Williams in the game defensively, so that'll change the strategy for Kansas.
Most of Travis Relaford's baskets have been in the paint or around the basket, but he is 7 of 8. It's not a bad guy to go to, as Relaford will throw it in. McLemore is only 3 for 12.
But you don't want Travis Relaford in this situation and have him create a bucket for you.
It's Tharp to trigger things for Kansas. 10 seconds to go. Relaford, he'll drive it, leans in, no good, tapped around, out of bounds. 3 seconds to go. It belongs to Oklahoma State. They have no timeouts left. Markel Brown wants to put it in quickly. Bill Self wants his team back on defense. Phil Forte wants to check in the game, and he will. 3 seconds to go. No timeouts for either team. And here comes LeBron Nash coming on for Oklahoma State as well. And Travis Ford having to yell down to Markel Brown to remind him, you can't run the baseline here. It's into Smart. 3/4 court. Just off the mark. Double overtime. All right, Dave, thanks very much. Even more bonus basketball, as Dave told you, here in Stillwater. Number 9 and number 14 almost ended as Marcus Smart had one online. This looked good for a long time. Just a little more mustard. And that would have been a pretty memorable way for what has been a memorable night to end. Bob Wischusen, Stephen Bardo, and Holly Rowe at Gallagher-Iba Arena. As we're going to play at least 50 minutes of basketball.
So again, Bob, as you talked about it in the first overtime, got to monitor the foul situation on both sides.
McLemore stumbles, and Young recovers. Elijah Johnson is fouled out, but plenty of players in foul trouble. Nadir Tharp, a little floater in the lane. No good. Forte the rebound.
Now McLemore switches out on Smart. So Marcus's ability to get in the post is compromised somewhat.
Nash gets loose on the baseline and draws the foul. If that's on Withy, that's his fourth, and it is. So now Kevin Young and Jeff Withy both have 4. And you saw a moment ago 3 players with 4 fouls for Oklahoma State.
Like the Kansas defense fell asleep weak side, allowing Nash a free cut along the baseline.
LeBron Nash has had a quiet second half offensively, and he comes up short here. Both teams have hurt themselves at the free throw line tonight. Kansas is 14 of 23, and now Oklahoma State is 21 of 30. And Nash, normally a very good free throw shooter, only 2 of 6. He's in the top 10 in the conference. Now he's 2 for 7.
I like that play Kansas ran at the end for Relaford. He had a good look, a dribble handoff, clearing out the weak side for him.
Shot clock winding down. Tharp straightaway 3. Long rebound to the corner. Cobbins has it. Smart finds Forte. He'll tee one up. That's off the mark. Smart keeps it alive. Young takes it away. Slapped at by Markel Brown. Out of bounds off of Young.
That's a dangerous situation for Oklahoma State with Markel Brown with 4 fouls. We didn't see the initial chomp down on the ball. There was a couple slaps at the basketball.
Forte fades away and rattles it home. Oklahoma State with their first lead since about 3 minutes gone by in the second half.
And Forte got fouled on the release. That should have been an and-one opportunity.
And a foul called in the lane. That's on Michael Cobbins, and that will foul him out away from the ball. And that will put Withy at the line to shoot 2. That's a tough way for Oklahoma State to lose Michael Cobbins.
Cobbins trying to hold his ground. Tough break for Oklahoma State. Trying to establish position against Withy in the post.
Here's the out of bounds underneath to Forte that gave Oklahoma State the lead.
A little bit of contact there. Maybe Forte helped it out a little bit with some acting at the end, but good concentration. And now Oklahoma State getting those possessions, Bob, on the inbounds play where Kansas was doing it down the stretch in the regulation.
All the points that Kansas has scored in each overtime have come at the free throw line. They haven't had a field goal since the end of regulation. And it's Withy back at the line. He's been the one player, along with Marcus Smart, that has consistently made at the line. Withy's now 9 of 11 shooting free throws. And the announcer's jinx bites Jeff Withy, and Oklahoma State holds on to a 1-point lead.
Trying to run Marcus Smart off, trying to get him some space here on the flare screen.
on Young. A floater just off the mark. McLemore clears.
Pretty solid defense by Young without fouling. Nash, knowing he's got 4 fouls, went right at it.
Relaford from outside. High in the air for the rebound. And coming the other way is Markel Brown. Marcus Smart, a little floater. Comes up short. Offensive foul called on Marcus Smart. That will foul him out.
Like Marcus Smart caught a shot in the midsection with the floater. Travis Relaford setting up beautifully to draw the charge in the paint outside the restricted area.
Good call.
Yes.
And for the 3rd time tonight, Marcus Smart is hurt. Except now he can't shake it off in return. He has fouled out. So Michael Cobbins and Marcus Smart have both fouled out for Oklahoma State. Kansas lost Elijah Johnson. 4 fouls on Kevin Young and Jeff Withey for KU. Still 4 fouls on Markel Brown for Oklahoma State. And in a game that could end up at the end of the season, we'll see how the rest of the year shakes out. But this game could be the one you look back on to determine the Big 12 title. And it could be role players and bench players by the time it's all over that settle it.
That's right. We have the senior leadership of Kansas. We have the youth of Oklahoma State. Who will last the longest here in our 2nd overtime.
Young around Nash, hit the side of the backboard. And the officials confer and say Nash got a piece before it hit the side of the backboard. 11 to shoot, stays with Kansas.
Pretty good call.
Might have been Jurek that got a piece as well.
Yep. Jurek solid there, denying the penetration. Tharp's got to go.
He walked. Bill Self is furious. And I think he's furious at the call, although I'm wondering if he might be furious at Nadir Tharp for what's still 5 or 6 seconds on the shot clock.
That's obvious. Took 3 steps before he went into a shot. That's pretty obvious.
So Oklahoma State has the ball and the lead with under 2 minutes to go as they spend their only timeout that they have here in the 2nd overtime.
Who's in the game?
For 2 teams that average over 73 points a game, it's been a low-scoring game, but here's how we got the double overtime.
Well, Kansas forcing Marcus Smart into a tough look on the double team. And Markel Brown really doing some great playmaking there, drawing the defense. And then watch this shot.
Almost ended it at the end of the 1st overtime, and then Forte again. A big shot. And in double overtime, Oklahoma State now has the lead. Kansas in both overtimes combined 0 for 7 from the field. They've only scored 7 points, all at the free throw line. And without Elijah Johnson running things, and now without Marcus Smart running things for Oklahoma State, it's a lot of pressure on some point guards that usually at this point in the game are not the primary ball handlers.
Well, we'll have to see if Gardner comes in for Oklahoma State, but I would assume that Markel Brown will get the majority of the playmaking responsibilities here down the stretch for Oklahoma State.
When Marcus Smart fouled out, Travis Ford brought Brian Williams in the game. So he's got Markel Brown and Phil Forte as his 2 guards. And it's in the hands of Nadir Tharp for Kansas. Without Elijah Johnson, he'll be the primary ball handler for KU. Kansas has won back-to-back games after that well-publicized 3-game losing streak, helped out by the comments that Bill Self made after the loss against TCU, as KU is firmly in control of the Big 12, but then lost 3 in a row. Oklahoma State has won 7 in a row. And one of those wins, of course, when they broke the 16-game losing streak against Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse.
So they got Forte bringing the rock up, initiating the offense.
Brown picks up his dribble. Needs some help. Now it's Nash. Goes right at Young. Bowls into him. Called for an offensive foul. That's only the first foul on LeBron Nash.
Kevin Young getting his feet there. I'm not so sure about that one, Bob.
Neither is he.
He was moving. Didn't look like he was set defensively.
Tharp on Forte, picks up his dribble, unloads to McLemore. McLemore for the lead, and a whistle away from the ball. It'll be a foul on Philip Jurek with that shot in the air. So Withey will go back to the line to try and put Kansas back on top.
Jurek and Withey were sumo wrestling in the paint the whole time. There was a ton of contact before that exchange right there on both sides.
Withey has 15, 9 of 12 at the line. And we are tied for the 16th time to go along with 20 lead changes. KU's back on top.
What a weapon to have a center that can step up and knock down free throws in crucial situations. Withey showing you why he's one of the best players in the nation.
Markel Brown, tough shot, and he hits. Oklahoma State retakes the lead. Will Bill Self spend his last time out? He will. Kansas down by a point. They still don't have a field goal in either overtime.
And Markel Brown oozing with confidence, knowing his team needs a play. And he made one, creating space right there with the right shoulder. Without the offensive foul, steps back, beautiful release. Markel Brown channeling some Marcus Smart there, playmaking ability.
Markel Brown has 20 points, and it's the 6th time this season that he has gone for 20 or better. The last time you and I were here, he went coast to coast and beat Baylor at the buzzer. This place is a cauldron in the best possible sense. It's so steep from the top row all the way down to the floor. Everyone at Gallagher-Iba Arena, if you've never been here, you just feel like they're all right on top of the floor. And it creates such a great atmosphere. And it's been like this since the start. I don't think there's a student in the building that's sat at any point tonight.
And why would you? It's been back and forth all night long.
And they're all standing now.
I like that dribble handoff. Even though Relford missed the shot, I like that play.
Knocked out of bounds by Brian Williams. Both teams, as you can see, without timeouts. So you have to get it in. Young in a tough spot, off to McLemore.
Boy, they do not look confident with that basketball.
Shot clock at 10. Nadir Tharp against Forte, trying to create, does, and hits! No timeouts for Oklahoma State. They're now down by a point. Here comes Markel Brown.
If I'm Kansas, I double team any screen and roll right now.
Markel Brown fades away off the front rim. Forte runs into the follow, throws it off Relaford. Up against the sideline, Relaford saves it, and KU survives. What a play by Relaford after the Tharp make.
Well, the Tharp teardrop in the paint. Got to a sweet spot. And then Markel Brown, pretty good look. Forte couldn't handle it. And the save right there by the senior. Kansas escapes.
What a terrific play by the senior Travis Relaford. 18 points and 6 rebounds in the win for Relaford and the save at the end. A 1-point win for KU in double overtime.